So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here tonight. We're excited to have this conversation today about AB 1705, share a little bit about the work that FACC is doing to advance this forward in a legislative manner this year. So we're going to talk about the policy path to reclaiming student agency and equitable access. But today I have a very special guest joining us. We have Lucia Landros, who is the Cuesta Community College Student Body President and Student Trustee. So she's going to kind of kick us off and share a little bit about her experience and how she's gotten into advocacy regarding AB 1705 and the importance of amplifying the student voice as we continue to move forward.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, as Anna said, I'm the student trustee and student body president at Cuesta College, but I'm also the delegate, the Cuesta College delegate to SSCCC. And so with AB 1705 at Cuesta, what we've seen is there's a lot of students who are coming forward and they're really upset about this issue. It's really messing up a lot of people's academic journeys. High school students who are, just leaving high school, they're hoping to come to Cuesta with a fresh start. Maybe they didn't get the opportunity to take pre-calc and trig in high school, and they're just finding out now that, actually, based with the memo, that's new. Pre-calc and trig is saved, but it's really been an issue, and it's been a hot button issue as well, and so we do need to acknowledge that. But the point is, though, that we've been, as Cuesta College delegate to SSCCC at the last Advocacy Academy meeting, I was able to network with a lot of other community college students who also believe that access to pre-transfer level courses, across the entire spectrum, whether it be intro algebra, whether it be pre-calculus, is very important for all students. High school students who maybe are trying to do dual enrollment, reentry students, veterans, across the board, we need accessibility to those courses. And so what we're kind of advocating for is not just the fact we're not advocating to make students all of them take pre-calc or trig, but just giving students the option to choose where they want to start off their journey. If they want to start off in calc, great. But if they feel like they need pre-calc and trig, then they should be allowed to do that. And so that's what we're really working towards here, is just improving accessibility to pre-transfer level courses. And so at Advocacy Academy, when we networked, just so you guys know, there's a lot of other community college students and faculty members and administration, individuals throughout throughout the entire state who are also on board with us of improving that accessibility to students. And so, yeah, that's kind of been my advocacy journey of pretty much at Cuesta. We're really upset about this issue. We want to see it, change, because this spring was set to be the last time Cuesta was going to offer pre-calc and trig, and students were just not happy about it. So we went to Advocacy Academy. We've been networking. We're planning on meeting with our local legislators to let them know kind of our concerns, to share student testimonials. And we're really happy about the memo that just came out today. So yeah, I'll just end it there. But thank you guys for having me.
Yes, of course. Lucia is clearly phenomenal. She's a wonderful demonstration of what student advocacy looks like and is an example for all of us to follow as we continue on this journey. I've noticed that there are some questions in the chat. We will take questions at the end. So yeah, I'm going to start with sort of an overview. Wendy, if you could go to the next slide. All right, so the legislative landscape, how we sort of have gotten here, I think it's important to put all of this in context. And as we're addressing this, especially with the legislature, we need to be very careful about the language that we're using and make sure that we have all of our facts straight so we can make a good case. So all of this sort of started in 2012 with the Seymour Campbell Student Success Act, authored by Assemblymember Lowenthal, and that sort of created this process where students were assessed pretty much as soon as they got onto the community college campus. I remember taking the AccuPlacer test when I got to community college, and that's what we did, and it would place you into a English and a math class. And there were many issues with AccuPlacer and with this model, and students were being placed into really lengthy remedial pathways, and it was causing them difficulty and posing some barriers with them accelerating through their college education journey. So in a response to this, we had AB 705, which was really a student and faculty driven effort to address this issue. it reduced these lengthy remedial pathways and required that we have a pathway to sort of have students go through these classes, these transfer level courses faster. So all things were fine and good around there. Then between 2018 and 2021, we started to take things too far. So we had Title V regulation from the Board of Governors within our system, and that really limited standalone remedial courses. We went from one end trying to extend access to transfer level classes to limiting access to any class that was not transfer level. And that was where we started to go in the wrong direction as a system. There were still some good things, like the development of co-requisite support classes, as well as alternative pathways like liberal arts, math, and statistics. But this limiting of standalone remedial courses is something that would continue onwards and lead into 2022, where we had AB 1705, which is what we're here to talk about today. So the language in AB 1705 says that we're supposed to maximize the probability that students enter and complete transfer level math and English courses within a year. That in itself isn't entirely problematic. However, the interpretation of AB 1705 by the Chancellor's Office led to some guidance memos that effectively led to the wholesale elimination of standalone pre-transfer courses, as we know, which has not been in the best interest of our system. And this also led to what we thought was going to be the elimination of pre-calculus for STEM majors. I know that the movement and conversations around AB 1705 have been happening for years about what this would mean for our system, what this would mean for our students, the impact particularly on our most marginalized students. And it is because of that pressure, especially the pressure that FACC and other organizations have placed on the legislature earlier this year, that has led to a big change, which came down today actually. So perfect timing. We're going to go to the next slide. I'm sure some of you have heard that the Chancellor's Office put out a new guidance memo, which was prompted by Assemblymember Jackie Irwin. And this would effectively enable community colleges to offer 2 semesters prior to calculus for the STEM pathway, depending on where a student had completed in high school. So effectively, this would give community colleges opportunities to offer pre-calculus and trigonometry, which was a huge piece of the puzzle that we knew we needed to save from, being removed from course catalogs all over the state. So that was a really big win today, and it has been preceded by so much work by so many different people. But what I'm trying to say is that this is possible. This sort of change is possible in terms of curriculum, in terms of policy, when we have people banding together and raising their voices, and telling the people in power what we need, what we want, and that our students and faculty know best when it comes to the California community colleges. And this was a big step forward, but it's not the end, and it cannot be the end. We still have a lot of work to do, both in English and in math, and we know that other interdisciplinary subjects are also impacted by the lack of pre-transfer foundational courses at community colleges. So we still have a big long road ahead of us, but I hope that we can continue this momentum forward as we move into AB 1705 advocacy in a legislative manner for this upcoming year. So could we go to the next slide? We are going to talk about FACC's proposal for this upcoming year, which is on student agency and equitable access. So this is a QR code that is linked to FACC's one-pager. It is a draft. It says draft in really big words behind it, but it basically talks about what FACC is doing and what our goal and our vision is for what a legislative proposal could look like to bring back pre-transfer courses. So this is a quote from our one-pager. FACC seeks to enact legislation clarifying that California community college students can enroll in and California community colleges can offer standalone foundational pre-transfer courses to promote student agency and equitable access. Students right now are not really being allowed to enroll in courses that they need, so we want them to be able to enroll in courses that meet them where they are at. Something that is a little bit different is placement, right? So right now, we would like to maintain what we had with AB 705 with placement. I know that is a big sort of place of contention, excuse me. But we believe that placement and enrollment are different. It is okay if a student is placed in a transfer level course so long as they have the agency to enroll in a course that meets them where they're at. We don't want to go back to the pre-705 days of long remedial pathways. We know that that is the vantage point of some of our opposition, that FACC believes that we want to go back to the acuplacer days, but that is not what we want. We believe that the pendulum swung too far back in one direction and then it went in the other direction, and we need to meet in the middle and go back sort of to normalcy, where students should be able to take classes that are at their skill levels. And we need to make sure that students have options. The other piece of this puzzle is that right now, full comprehensive data has not been collected. We've only been seeing throughput, which is a very narrow metric that did not justify the wholesale elimination of these courses. So we will be chatting a little bit later about what data is going to look like and how you guys can help us collect this data. So how do we accomplish this? Next slide. Building a coalition. So I think a question that I've heard asked a lot is, how did AB 1705 happen in the first place, right? So we're going to go to the next slide, and I want to show you the perspective of the legislature. I know that lots of us have very strong feelings about AB 1705, and that's rooted in experience and what has happened at our colleges, but we need to zoom out and look at the perspective of the other stakeholders that are involved. So these are some screenshots from the Assembly Higher Education hearing of AB 1705. So as you can see, there is a huge list of organizations that have submitted position papers in support of AB 1705. Some of these are community colleges, but a lot of them are special interest groups, and a lot of them are special interest groups that are funded by the same foundations and, at the end of the day, same corporations, right? But these names sound good. These names sound like things that are beneficial for students. Who wouldn't want students to have opportunity to access college and to accelerate through college? But if you look at the opposition on this list, it's just Mount San Antonio College, FACC, and one individual. If you're a legislator who is legislating on water rights and public benefits and all sorts of other different things, then you don't have the opportunity or the time to really delve into the weeds of each issue, and you see such a huge list of support and such a small list of opposition, you're going to assume that this is a good idea. So I know that while lots of us have strong feelings, we need to be able to put this into perspective. And when we're talking to the legislature, remember who these sentiments need to be directed at. The legislature's job at the end of the day is to legislate. So we need to be the ones who inform them, and we need to be the ones who make our voices heard. So when we run this bill in January, what I would love to see from all of you is a support list for our bill that is much longer than this, and much longer than the opposition. So we can really flip that power dynamic and remind people that it is the faculty and the students at the end of the day, especially the students who are directly impacted by this, whose voices need to be the loudest and need to be listened to when we're making legislation. Let's go to the next slide. We can accomplish this by community organizing. So over the next few months, one of our chief goals is to be able to mobilize faculty and students to meet with their legislators and have these conversations on a local level and work with their student body associations and their academic senates and whatever means that we have to really have a comprehensive movement to help shepherd this bill through the legislature. Let's go to the next slide. If students and faculty from all community colleges organize and speak with legislators about their experiences and out-advocate the special interest groups who we will be going up against, we can use our power to make our voices heard. Students and faculty are the experts, and we've seen this trend in the legislature in the last 10 years or so, in which students and faculty are the ones who are listened to the least, I feel like, in terms of education policy making, when in reality, students and faculty are the ones who are impacted every day, who are on the ground working to implement these policies. So we need to amplify those voices. Special interest groups may have money, but we have people power. We have 2 million students in the California community colleges. We have 116 colleges. We have so many faculty, administrators, and wonderful people. So we need to all get our hands on deck and work together to keep moving this across the line. So here are some tidbits for what legislative advocacy is going to look like, and I will run you through sort of the steps towards legislative advocacy and how you can work on a local level to advance this movement forward. If you have never attended a legislative office visit before, I know it can be very daunting, very intimidating. Um, but you have to remember that the legislature is in office because you elected them. And it is their job to listen to their constituents. And they care very deeply about what their constituents' experiences are and how they can improve them from their offices in the Capitol. Often, when you have conversations, you will be talking to staff, not necessarily the legislator itself. But these are people too. There are many staff who had a community college education just like you did. And there are many legislators who worked at community colleges and still do. We have every right to be upset about the ways in which, particularly the guidance around AB 1705 has impacted students. But like I said, we need to think about the legislature's vantage point and redirect that into a positive way to make positive change. We can be angry, but we can't bring our anger to legislative meetings. We need to bring facts instead. And that is because to be an effective advocate, in order to get these people to listen to us, we need to win them over. And we are all capable of doing so. A really good analogy is treating a first meeting with a legislative office like a first date. You wouldn't go in swinging on a first date. You wouldn't want to start an argument if you want to see this person again and capture their attention and keep having conversations. So we want to go in with a positive outlook and really build that connection and build that relationship, because only once we foster trust with this legislator's office will they keep coming back to us and listening to us and wanting our perspective. And only if we create that trusting environment by going in and trying to be as kind as we can, even if it requires a lot of self-control when we're upset, only then will we be able to change their perspectives and hopefully change their votes. Next slide. So when you're in these meetings, how do you frame the argument? We have to be really careful in the way that we do this. We have to be very specific, and we have to try and maintain as positive of an outlook as we can. So something that we use in legislative meetings, especially when we're talking about a subject that can be kind of touchy, especially when it comes to criticisms of a policy, we use the compliment sandwich approach. So whatever not so great thing or not so nice thing, I guess, that you're going to say, you need to put it in a sandwich between two compliments. And these don't need to be disingenuous. They can be real, and it may be difficult to come up with things, but here are some examples. We appreciate your listening ear and your willingness to collaborate with us. This model is helping many students pass through transfer level courses quicker, which we do believe that this model is working for some students, which is good. We want it to keep working for them. We just want the students who this is not working for to have more options. And again, reminding folks that the lengthy remedial pathways pre-AB 705 did not work, and we don't want to go back to those days. This can help sort of narrow the scope so it's not, people just going in and slamming the policy as a whole and being very specific about, okay, what has happened and what can we do to fix it? Outside of the compliments, when you get to the meat of what you're trying to convey to them, you need to be specific and focused in what you're saying and provide a solution. So here are some examples that are kind of nitty-gritty. I know your office cares about closing equity gaps for marginalized students, and we need some flexibility in enrollment for that to happen. The whole point in all of this was to close equity gaps, and according to the Public Policy Institute of California, equity gaps have not closed. And we're still seeing that our marginalized students are struggling. So we can take advantage of that and say that in order for us to close those equity gaps like everybody wants, we need flexibility to meet those students. Another one would be the issue is implementation within the system, not the legislation itself. The carve-outs created in the original bill have not been honored by the guidance memos. This language is really what helped us to push to get a new guidance memo. And that is why hopefully we will be able to, have our pre-calculus and trigonometry classes back. And we were talking to the chancellor's office earlier today, and, they said that the guidance memo that they put out today about pre-calculus and trigonometry was within the scope of the legislation. It complied with the legislation. It did not go out of the scope. So really bringing it back to that sort of, I think, takes the onus off of the legislature themselves and more so the guidance. Because when I was talking to legislative offices, they were very confused as to why the carve-outs that were in the initial bill language were not being utilized by the community colleges. And that's because the system was sort of preventing that from happening. Here's another one. This is working for many students, which is great, but we do need more options for those who are withdrawing and failing transfer level classes. Right now, our students' option, if they withdraw or fail, is to do the same thing over and over again, up to 3 times for failure, and then they would have to go to a new community college district. And that just doesn't make sense. And we want to make sure that the students who this works for, great, I hope it keeps working, but everybody else, we need a safety net to capture them if this doesn't work and provide them with a stepping stone so they can continue making progress in their academic journey instead of stopping out entirely. How do you make this happen in the first place? I know that this can seem like a very overwhelming process. How do you even reach out to your legislator? How do you get the ball rolling with all of this? So, step one is connecting with your legislator. So, each of the legislators have a website. So, you can just look up their name, their website will pop up. Locate the district office on the website, and there will be a contact portal there for you to ask for a meeting. It is their job to meet with constituents. It is a huge part of their duties. There are people in their district and capital offices who are set aside for that express purpose. And every time you have a conversation with them, usually they take notes, write that down, and pass it along because the legislator wants to know what their constituents think. So it's your job to inform them about what you think, especially on this issue. You can sign up for their email list, you can sign up for their press releases, you can attend local events and make connections in person with that representative to get you some more face time with them, which is a very valuable thing. I'm sure there are lots of Christmas events coming up that your legislator will be hosting within the district. It's a great opportunity to make the connection there. And then look into issues that they're interested on their website. So this will enable you to connect with them more personally. Step two is building that relationship and establishing trust. Once you go into that first legislative meeting, treat it like a first date. Go in with a positive outlook and really just connect with them and share about your experience and let them know that you are a member, you are a constituent, and they can trust you. They can trust your perspective. They can trust that you are the voice that they can go to hear about what's going on at the California community colleges and figure out how they can be of support. Then we can speak up about this issue and finally follow up, right? If you want to continue building this relationship, you don't just go on the first date and then ghost them. No, you continue having conversations and continue sending emails. Schedule a follow-up meeting, right? As this bill progresses through the legislative process, we want to be having ongoing conversations with our legislators about what's going on, keeping them in the loop and making sure that they can help us to the best of our abilities. So, and we can use the argument framing that we did in the last slide to help guide us in those meetings. And I think it would be super beneficial if every single community college could have a couple of meetings with their legislator and bring some students and faculty to share their perspectives and share their stories, that alone would bring our movement so much further forward. But first, to connect with your legislator, you need to know who your legislator is. Who are your representatives? Not everyone in this room may know. Wendy just put the link in the chat, but this QR code will also take you to the link for you to figure out who your legislative representatives are. If your college has multiple campuses, satellite campuses, you can try different addresses to see, however many representatives would be able to listen to you as a constituent, not just as where you live, but as an employee or a student at the community college that they represent. So now that you know who your representatives are, we're going to talk about how to have an effective legislative meeting. So here are your guidelines, the basic skeleton sort of how to have an effective meeting at the legislature. So first, whoever you brought along to advocate with you, introduce yourselves to the legislator or the staff who you're talking to. Second, make a connection. This is why it's really helpful, I think, to do your homework beforehand. Who knows, they may have attended your community college or they, may have taught a class. Who knows, maybe they have a shared interest with you, something local that you both have been involved in, right? So that is one way to make yourself stand out and give them something to remember you by making a connection. I think that really humanizes them to you and humanizes you to them. Next, share some context. So talk a little bit about the issue area that we've been talking about and AB 1705, a little bit of the history and sort of what has happened. Next, it's really important to share your story, especially student stories are so important to really share these testimonies. And, you could have 100 different people go and tell a legislator a bunch of facts and statistics, but if they have one student share a story, that is going to be the thing that they take away with them. That is going to be the thing that is the most memorable because the students are the ones who are most directly impacted by this legislation. So it's so important to share stories. There's a quote that says there are two ways to share knowledge. You can push information out or you can pull them in with a story. You do need to give some informational context, but you can really pull someone in with a story, and that is one of the most powerful tools I think we have to change people's minds. Next, it's important to have an ask. A lot of people go into legislative meetings and they talk about an issue, but they don't tell the legislator's office what they want them to do about that. So it is important to be able to, have a tangible ask where you can say, hey, this bill is going through. We would like your support on it when it goes through X committee or when it goes to the Assembly or Senate floor. We would like you to have a meeting. We'd love you to come to our community colleges and talk to, talk to our faculty and students about this issue. And there are different asks that you can have that would really involve the legislator further, and that is something that is helpful to ask at the end of the meeting. Another thing is to leave something tangible. So that could be the FAC one pager, that could be um, any document or business card or flyer that you could leave behind that will remind them of your visit with them. This can also be emailed if you've had a Zoom meeting, and follow up with a thank you. That's just good decorum, a very good way to establish a positive relationship. But it can't end there. You have to keep meeting with them, keep talking with them, build that relationship. And it's not just for AB 1705. There are so many other issue areas I'm sure that you're passionate about, and being able to have your legislators' ear and share with them about the issues that are important to you. That could be something as simple as potholes on the road within your district, right? It's just really important to build those relationships in order for us to have a healthier democratic society at large, but certainly to get this policy across the line. So, next slide. I'm going to have Lucia back to give us a call to action.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so moving forward, the first thing we would like you guys to do is to complete this survey. So it's a quick 1 minute survey. It's pretty much just getting everyone's contact information and kind of how their relationship with community college. Maybe they're a student, maybe you're a student or faculty member or an alumni. Maybe you go to a UC and you just took like a summer course at community college. Everyone's perspective matters here. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do here is get everyone's contact information of those who believe that this is an issue and they'd like to learn more about it and they'd like to learn more about different advocacy opportunities. And there's also an option on this survey that you can check a box yes or no if you would like your name to be added in support of this bill that we're going to be pushing forward in January. And that's optional. But overall, it's just to get your contact information so that we can contact you further with other advocacy opportunities, such as this webinar and just other things that pop up. Secondly, and the rest of this, list of moving forward stuff is really aimed towards student body, representatives. So to all the community college students here, if you're an active member of student government, this is meant for the community college students. So we would like you to, with your SBA, start drafting a resolution in support of the FACC bill. That's something you can start doing. And if you need any help with that, feel free to reach out to myself and or Anna. I can drop my email in the chat right now real quick. And then also too, start gathering student and alumni testimonials. That can be letters, that can be videos, but start gathering that material because you're going to want to have that when you go to meet with your legislators. Then also share the institutional research template with your campus and gather data. So I believe it might be in the next slide or so, where Anna's going to talk about this template that you can share with the institutional research department on your campus to help gather data on like the students on campus and kind of their academic pathways, because that's data that you can use to advocate for this issue if you want to see those pre-transfer level courses back. And then finally, once you have all of these things, you have like SBA resolutions in support of this bill. You've gathered alumni and student testimonials and faculty testimonials. You've gathered this data from institutional research from your college. Then you can take all of that and go meet with your legislators. And then that's where you should showcase the student testimonials, the resolutions, and the data. Also, too, just in general, we have to start having a wider conversation about this issue. So reach out to friends at different community colleges, but it's not just community colleges, also at universities, because there's a lot of transfer students, who, I mean, maybe they didn't even fully transfer, but it's not just community college isn't just for community college students, right? It's open to the community. As like a UC student can take a summer class at community college, they get to have a say in this. People like that. So we really want to try to get as many voices and as much input and as much momentum as we can behind this movement because we really want to see some change. And so I think with everyone's help, we can make this happen, but we're on the right track. Also, last but not least, show up to public comment at student government meetings, at community college meetings, at the UC student government meetings, at CSU student government meetings, because everyone is affected by this. Even if you're not a community college student, someone in your family, maybe even yourself at some point, you'll end up coming like you'll take a course there. So it really affects everyone. But if we band together, we got this. We can do this. And please fill out this survey. It would help us a lot. Thank you, Anna.
Yeah. It's really important. Drafting and, having resolutions be passed is a really important way to demonstrate tangible support of bringing pre-transfer classes back to the California community colleges. Those can also be submitted to the legislature through the position paper portal in order to get your names on there under the support list. And really, I know that there is I mean, just the fact that so many of you are here in the middle of finals week on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. really demonstrates how much and how many people care about this issue. And we appreciate you all for being here. And it's really important for us to gain momentum and, make sure we can continue on this path to get these classes back. So next I'm going to share quickly about the institutional research template and the work that FACCC is doing on data collection. So here's your guys' assignment. If you guys could all scan this code, or if you guys could all scan this code, I hope this one works, and share it with your institutional researcher. Right now, the only data that's being collected on AB 1705 and its impact is throughput. And throughput is a really narrow metric, and it just doesn't do the scope of this issue justice. So we're trying to collect demographic data as well as, and that is racial, age, all sorts of things, for the percentage of students passing, failing, dropping before census, and withdrawing after census for first attempts at transfer level math as well as transfer level English. So if you guys could share this template with your institutional researcher, and try and get this information and share it back to FACCC, we can put our emails in the chat for you all to share it back to us. But this is really critical for us to prove that the data that we're seeing right now does not show the full picture. It does not show the ways in which students are being negatively impacted, especially those who are dropping and withdrawing, which are disproportionately marginalized students. So go ahead, scan that. Wendy is going to put a PDF in the chat. Thank you for that. Where you guys can open up the full document that will have a sheet like this, both for math and for English. So sharing those whenever you get the chance with your institutional researcher, and sharing it back with FACCC are some things that would be really helpful for us moving forward, along with, of course, the call to action that Lucia just wonderfully gave us. So go to the last slide. All right, so get informed and involved. I have a QR code for FACCC Advocates listserv. That is, I think, probably the easiest way to stay updated on what's going on. It's where we'll put important updates on any developments with this bill and others. We are also going to send to all of you who are here today the recording, the link to this presentation, and the various documents that sort of we've used to put this together. If you guys have the power to change legislators' perspectives who have voted for AB 1705, we can show them a new future is possible from where implementation has taken us, one that is in the best interest of all students and provides options for those who need them. Thank you all for being here tonight. Really appreciate it.